All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Generations, Legacy Evolution, Twincast, and Autobot Rewind. Yeah, nice to be getting some more characters from the Japanese side of Transformers continuity. Obviously, this was a pretty easy one to do since it's, supposed to just be a repaint of Blaster, and it is just a repaint of Blaster for the most part. But yeah, easy one to do, but still, I really do like the Twincast color scheme, so it is nice to get that version in a sort of mainline release rather than like some, exclusive or convention thing. So, it works pretty well. And then obviously also nice to get Rewind, who, pretty much only came with Twincast just because, they use the clear black plastic here for the chest, so they could actually do, Rewind in the clear black colors. Obviously, it has the same issue that Eject did with Blaster, where because it's gang molded with that piece, it means that all the black plastic on Rewind is translucent, which is a little strange, but not the end of the world. Still, it's a very nice little cassette bot mode. But yeah, it comes with the exact same gun as the other versions of this mold. And it tabs in just the same way in the alt mode. It has a little tab back here and a little slot on the handle of the gun, so it can kind of sit on the back there, kind of out of the way. And then obviously you can push in the buttons here to open up the little cassette door, and you can take Rewind and put him inside just like that. In terms of comparisons, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe for whatever that's worth, but that's what they look like together. And then here he is with the other two versions of this mold that we've gotten so far, with Blaster and Shattered Glass Blaster. And yeah, I mean, they all look good together. There's not a ton of differences. There's like a few spots on Twincast that I noticed that are not picked out in paint like the previous versions, like couple of these knobs. And I think the reason that they didn't just do the exact same paint scheme is because with Blaster and with Shattered Glass Blaster, they didn't have to paint the handle of it because it was supposed to be the same color as the other gang molded sections with all the other black pieces. Whereas with Twincast, this is actually obviously gang molded with the same pieces that are here, so this is bright red, so they had to actually spend extra paint budget to paint that black. So, for whatever that's worth, I mean, at a glance, they all look pretty much the same. Obviously, it would have been nice to have those dials picked out, but it's really not that big a deal. And then if we want to get the little cassette guys out here, we can show them off together. Most importantly, I think there is Eject and Rewind, and then here is Shattered Glass Rewind. So you can see what they look like together. Again, they're pretty much the same. There's no differences in terms of the sculpt or anything. The only real difference, even paint-wise, is just that Shattered Glass Rewind got a little bit more paint on the arms there to get the white arms, but otherwise they're pretty much the same. And obviously you can switch and swap them however you want. It's not like Rewind has any specific association with Twincast. It's just like, giving us a reason to have both Eject and Rewind. It would be nice if at some point we could actually get Steeljaw and Ramhorn, at least in terms of the other Autobot cassettes. I don't really know by what method they'd release those, because they don't really do the mini-con packs anymore like they used to. So I don't know. I hope we get them somehow, though, because that would be great. Maybe in the core class. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the alt mode. Obviously, not a ton going on here, it just being a big boom box. But yeah, in terms of transformation, obviously it's just the same as before. You can just take the gun off for now, take the handle up here, split it down the middle, and then fold it onto the back so it pegs into place just like that. Then you want to take this front panel here and just kind of untab that and loosen it up so that you can take this whole side section here. You kind of have to bring it forward a little bit so it kind of unlocks from the shoulders, and then you can rotate it out down to the side and then rotate it down like that to become the legs. And then you want to take these blue panels, fold the top section in, and then fold it in just like that. And then rotate them so they're actually facing this direction, and then rotate the whole thing around at the waist. And then the feet here, they're kind of stuck in there. What I usually do is activate the ankle tilt so that I can actually just like unfold them just like that to actually get proper leverage. And then you can take the little fake extra whatever little speakers on the legs and just flip them around. I've talked about that before with this mold. And then the arms here, you just want to unfold like this till they they don't really click in place as strongly as they did on the previous uses of this mode, but that's fine. And then fold the hands over and then rotate the whole hand around, or the whole lower arm around. Then let me just adjust the camera here a little bit. And then last but not least, obviously, just open up the back panel here, flip out the head from the body. If I can get a good grip on it, there we go. And then close that back up. And then for rewind, obviously, we can just take him out here. It works exactly the same as before. You just take the little lower sections here and kind of unfold them. Those will be the legs, and then the arms similarly just kind of unfold out from the side. And then the head can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but you just want to get a fingernail in there and then try to flip it out like that on the ball joint. His ball joint is a little bit looser than Eject's, which makes it a little bit easier to get his head out, thankfully. But yeah, there we have Twincast and Rewind in their robot modes. And yeah, I mean, looks pretty good. Looks about exactly what you would expect it to look like. In terms of the gun, obviously, we can have him hold that in his hand there, or if you want to store it, he's got all these ports on the back. I usually plug it into just one side like this, so it kind of sits off to the side like that. But, you know, you've got a few different options there. Again, you know, I sort of wish that there was some way, like some peg on the side of this gun so you could have it stored like that, because I think it's a little bit awkward to stick off his back like this, but, you know, that's really kind of a nitpick there, because it does store at least. In terms of articulation, I guess we'll start with Rewind here. His head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around like that and can look up a little bit just because of how it folds up for transformation. He's got swivels at the shoulder, which also hinge out to the side. Ball joints at the elbow, so it gives him a thigh swivel, and then, you know, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. And then the hips can swing forward and back and out to the side. Ball joints at the knees, so he's got a little thigh swivel there, and then a pretty deep knee bend. Honestly, just the best of the little more recent cassette bots. I really like this mold. Really, the only problem I have with it at all is that it's, you know, in translucent plastic, but even that I can kind of, you know, overlook. But I love, you know, that it actually has elbows. They didn't even do that with the core class version of Rumble from Studio Series, which costs like, you know, $10. So this is the best one, best of the cassettes. And also, honestly, Rewind is my favorite of the three of using this mode, just because I have more attachment to Rewind as a character. But yeah, in terms of Twincast, obviously, just like Blaster, the head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around, can get a little bit of wiggle back and forth there. The shoulders are on swivels and then can hinge out to the side. It's got a bicep swivel, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. The only thing for the wrists is they can kind of like sink in and unfold for transformation, but it's not really all that useful. And then he's got a nice waist cut there. Hips can go forward, and they can go back. You just have to kind of unfold the butt plate there, and then out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the knee. The toes can kind of tilt forward like that, and he has ankle tilt. So, you know, pretty standard stuff. I mean, you know, it was a good mold before, and it's still a good mold. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here they are with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard one, what they look like with a standard size deluxe there. And here they are with Blaster and Blaster. And then Eject and Shattered Glass Rewind, just so you can see what they all look like together, you know. The only difference, and it's, you know, it's weird that we're getting a difference with the third version of this mold, especially one as minute as this, but if you actually look at their head sculpts, this is actually an alternate head sculpt, or specifically just the face piece is altered to give him a bit of a smirk. I kind of wish that they had been using that one all along, so, you know, because like Blaster is a pretty jovial character in the show, so it would have been nice to have that smirk. I feel like they could have gotten away with just using that mold for all three of them, but I guess it's neat to see a bit of variance now. No variance in Rewind. He's just the exact same mold as the other ones, but yeah, that's what they all look like together. So we'll leave Rewind on there. And then last but not least, here he is with Sound Blaster, who I didn't show off in the other mode because, you know, this mold of Sound Blaster doesn't actually turn to the cassette, since this is the Siege version. We never got one using the Netflix mold of Soundwave, which would be nice to get at some point, but, you know, I'm satisfied with them. But, you know, there were the rivals in the show, being the new reincarnated versions of Soundwave and Blaster and Blaster there. So that's what they look like together, just for whatever that's worth. Also, I'm just noticing this now, putting these guys three side by side, but I'm now noticing that the Autobot symbol on Blaster is just slightly crooked, which is now going to drive me nuts perpetually forever. So whatever that's worth, that's probably just a thing on my copy in particular. But yeah, not a ton else to say about Twincast here. Obviously, you know, it's just another version of this mold. This mold was great the first time it came out. It was great the second time it came out. It's great the third time. I'd say out of the three of them, Blaster probably feels the most solid in terms of the joints, but there's certainly nothing wrong with Twincast. Like, it feels fine. There's like a few pieces that don't like click in place as much as they used to, but that's really it. And then, you know, there's little bits where there aren't the same paint hits in the alt mode, just because of, you know, pieces that needed to be painted black, like the feet here, for example, so that they weren't red. But that's really it. It's just really nice to be able to get a version of this character in the main line. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. If you want, you can check me out on Instagram at toys.n.art, where I post various, you know, toy-related pictures every once in a while. And yeah, without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Legacy Evolution, Twincast, and Autobot Rewind.